أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome everybody to today's class. If I may have a student to the mic.
Yes, we can have G2104.
G2104, Assalamu alaikum. G2104, Assalamu alaikum. Okay, if you can have somebody else.
Okay. We can have G2124.
G2124, Assalamu alaikum. G2124, Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, I'll call G2193.
G2193, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you, darling?
I'm good, and you?
Alhamdulillah, very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, sweetheart, so we're going to do the opening dua. And if you can repeat after me, Dawood and Tasmiyah first, okay? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ربي علمني
ربي علمني
ما هو خير
ما هو خير
عندك.
عندك.
Well done. And the English translation afterwards, please.
Oh my Lord, teach me what is the best for me in your knowledge.
Well done. And the reference at the end.
Tazkira.
Well done. Okay. And do you know what Tazkira is?
No.
Okay. Okay. So there is the promised Messiah alayhi salam had lots of dreams and lots of revelations were vouchsafed to him, and they were all collected together. And you will find that if you look in a book known as Tazkira, they are all in there. And this dua is found within that compilation. Okay, and maybe possibly your parents will be able to give you a bit more information on that. Okay, Jazakumullah for your time. Allah Hafiz for now.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so let's move on to our rule for today. Okay, and let me just share my PowerPoint in order to explain properly. Okay, so if I could just check with my co-host that my PowerPoint first screen is showing.
Yes, it is.
Okay, fantastic. Okay then, so earlier this week, you were reminded of something that you were taught on G1 about how Sakin letters joined to voweled letters. And this was something that we taught you in G1, but we reminded you again, okay? Now, sometimes you will see Sakin and voweled letters, but in between them, you will see blank letters, like here. Okay, so there's a voweled letter, a ghain, and there's a Sakin letter, the lam. But in between, there are letters which carry no strokes. They're blank letters. And today's rule will show you what to do when you come across this situation. It will show you how you can combine words. Okay, so first, let's look at this letter here, this ya. This is a letter that's carrying a stroke, which happens to be a fatha. And this is known as a voweled letter. And this was a term that we introduced to you the other day. It's a voweled letter because it carries a stroke. Now there's a new word that's been written here, muttaharik. Muttaharik is an Arab word, okay? So when we say voweled letter, we're speaking in English. But when we say it's muttaharik, It means the same thing. It's just that mutaharrik is the Arabic version. Mutaharrik is Arabic, voweled is English. So if you hear a teacher talk about a voweled letter, she means also a mutaharrik letter. If she says mutaharrik letter, it's the same thing, a voweled letter. Okay, so it's a new word. So just be aware because lots of people will use that term. Okay, so let's now look at the next letter here. This bar, and it has a sukoon on the top. That is a sakin bar because a letter that carries a sukoon is known as a sakin letter, and this one happens to be a sakin bar. Now, how do we read these two letters? Now, we did teach you this in G1 and we reminded you on Monday, but basically what you do is you take the sakin letter and you join it to the most recent voweled letter or the most recent mutaharrik letter, which in this case happens to be the ya. So here, when you read, you would say yab, yab. You join those two together. Okay, so let's move on to this letter. Okay, this ghain. Now this is a mutaharrik letter. It's a letter that carries a stroke. I could just as easily have said a voweled letter. Okay, so this is a mutaharrik ghain. It's mutaharrik because it carries a stroke. Now let's just move on to this letter here. Okay, the lam that carries a sukoon. It's known as a sakin lam because letters that carry a sukoon are known as sakin. So what do? We know that we need to join the sakin letter to the most recent mutaharrik letter. So let's see what is the most recent mutaharrik letter. Let's move backwards from the sakin lam and look at this.
Call from 447-4499.
Okay. If you just bear with me for a second. Okay, so we move backwards and we see this alif. This alif, we have to ask ourselves, does it carry a stroke? Is it mutaharrik? And the answer, of course, here is no, because it doesn't carry any stroke. So we don't join, because the rule is that the sakin letter will have to join to a mutaharrik letter. So let's move back and look at this alif here. And we ask ourselves the same question. Is this letter carrying a stroke? Is it a mutaharrik letter? And of course, the answer here is no, because there is no stroke above this. And so we can't join that letter either, because the rule is a sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharrik letter. So let's move backwards. Now we have this wow. We ask ourselves exactly the same question. Does it carry a stroke? Is it mutaharrik? And if we look, there is no stroke above it, so we can't join this. So we move backwards one more time and we see this ghain. The ghain, we ask ourselves exactly the same question. Does it carry a stroke? Is it mutaharrik? And of course it is, because it's carrying a stroke. It's carrying the dhamma. So what happens is we join this sakin lam to this ghain, because the sakin letter has to join to the most recent mutaharrik letter, and in this case the most recent mutaharrik letter is that ghain. We ignore the letters in between, and it is as simple as that. Whenever you see a sakin letter, work backwards, and sometimes you have to go back to the most recent, the very next letter, but sometimes you have to go back 1, 2, 3 letters maybe before you find it. But that's fine. The rule is always the sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharrik letter. Okay, so let's recap. A sakin letter is a letter that carries a sukoon. A mutaharrik letter is a letter that carries a stroke. A sakin letter must join to the most recent mutaharrik letter. When you see a sakin letter, Work backwards until you find a vowel letter. You join those two. You leave any others that are in between. So in the example that we've just looked at, that's also on your screen. This lam sakin will join to this ghain, which carries a dhamma. The letters in between are ignored. And it is as simple as that. That is the rule that we're going to focus on today. So in order to practice, let's just move back to our PDFs. And if I may have a student to the mic, please.
Yes, the next student is going to be G2203.
G2203, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, darling. How are you?
I'm fine.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, sweetheart. So we are going to practice these four boxes here, okay? The words that are in these boxes. And we're going to apply the rule, okay? So let's start, okay? We'll start from here. Repeat with me. B.
B.
Ha.
Ha.
Well done. B. Ha.
B. Ha.
Well done. Okay. So now we're going to look at this letter and we're going to look at this letter here, okay? This is a lam sakin. It's going to join with a vowel letter, with a muttaharik letter. So the rule is we work backwards. So let's work backwards. There is an alif here. Is that a muttaharik letter?
No,
No, because
it doesn't have a stroke.
mashallah, well done. So let's move back. This ya, is that muttaharik?
No,
No, because
it doesn't have a stroke.
well done. Okay. This dal, is that muttaharik?
Yeah.
It is, because it carries a kasra. So we're going to join this lam sakin to this dal. What do we do with the ya and the alif?
You ignore it.
Ignore them. Well done. So here we say dil.
Dil.
Well done. Okay. Bihadil umyi.
Bihadil umyi.
Well done. Okay. So in this word here, okay, here, let's look at this lam and this waw, okay? This lam is going to join with the most recent muttaharik letter. Will it be this alif?
No.
Will it be this alif here?
Yeah.
This alif here?
No.
And why is that?
Because it didn't have any stroke.
It didn't. Well done. Okay. So the lam will join to
The w.
the waw, because the waw is it
has a stroke.
has a stroke. The lam sakib will join to the most recent muttaharik letter, which in this case happens to be this waw. So when we read this word, we'll say ra'a,
Ra'a.
ra'awul,
Ra'awal.
wul,
Wal.
ayati,
Ayati.
ra'awul ayati.
Ra'awal ayati.
Well done. Okay. So let's move on to this word here. Okay. Li.
Li.
Okay. This alif here has a dhamma. There is a waw afterwards. Tell me, this waw, does it have a sukoon on the top?
No.
No. So this is something that you will see in the Quran Majid often, a waw straight after a letter with a dhamma. But because it has no sukoon, it is not a waw madda. Okay. A waw madda is always a waw sakin, a waw with a sukoon. and there is a dhamma beforehand. This vowel here is just a blank vowel, which we're going to ignore, okay? And that's why we're going to say u.
U.
Well done. Li-u.
Liu.
And we ignore this vowel. We move on to this lam with the kasra. And if we look ahead, we'll see this lam sakin here. The rule is when you see a sakin letter, you need to work backwards until you find the most recent voweled letter. Is it this alif here?
No.
Is it the ya here?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just take away my highlights, okay? There is a kasra here, but the kasra belongs to this lam, okay? The ya here has no stroke, okay? So let me ask you one more time then. This ya, is not mutaharik, that's right. Okay, so this lam sakin, we're working our way backwards. We get to this lam. Is that a mutaharik letter?
Yeah.
Yes. So we are going to join this lam to this lam. And we say lil.
Lil.
Well done. And we ignore the ya and the alif in between. Okay? Right. So let's go backwards. Li-u-lil.
Li'ulil.
Li-u-lil al.
Li'ulil a.
Al.
Al.
Well done. Here, there is an alif. It has nothing on the top, but beforehand is a fatha. That means this is an alif mad, 2-second timing. Ba.
Ba.
B.
Ni.
Well done. Li-ulil al-babi.
Li'ulil al-ba. Bi.
Well done. Okay. And then in this word here, okay, we're going to read this for 2 seconds because this is an alif mad, okay? Qa.
Ka.
Well done. And then we are going to join this dal sakin with which letter do you think?
Was that L?
With the lam. Well done. Because the letters in between do not have a stroke. They are not mutaharik. They are not voweled. So we say lud.
Ludu.
Qalud.
Kaludu.
Ulana.
Ulana.
MashaAllah. Okay, sweetheart. Jazakumullah for your help. Inshallah, we'll speak again. Allah Hafiz for now.
Allah Hafiz.
Walaikum salam. Okay, so now let's move on to our sabak and we'll apply those rules. If I can have a student to the mic, please.
Okay, we can have G2217.
G2217. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you, darling?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, sweetheart. So we are going to start where we left off yesterday. So we're going to start off here. And I would like you to, first of all, recite Tawud and Tasmiyah for me, slowly and with melody.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Well done. Okay, so let's talk about this verse that we're going to read through. Okay, there is, to start off with, a 1 second timing on this fa. We are going to join these two letters. We'll come to that rule in a few lessons time, okay? But we're going to join these two. Then we're going to do 2 second timing on this alif mad. Then we're going to see this noon sakin that's going to join with this meme. When you see a noon sakin, the rule is you always look at the next letter because the next letter will decide what sort of nasal sound you make. And so far you've been taught that if the next letter is a letter of the throat, then you make a clear sound. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you, the next letter here is a ta. Is this a letter of the throat?
No.
It is not. Well done. So we are going to make a slightly different nasal sound, which you'll hear in a moment. And then because we're going to pause here, when we come to the end, we don't necessarily read as we see it written. And again, we'll explain those rules soon enough. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فأما من طغى. Sorry. فأما من طغى.
وأما من طغى.
Okay, well done. Okay, let's do it slowly. فأما
وأما
من
من
طغى.
طغى.
And again. فأما من طغى.
وأما من طغى.
Well done. Okay. Okay. It's fine for now. We'll learn soon enough, but we try and do 2 seconds here. Okay. But we'll move on. Here in this next verse, which ends here. 1 second timing on this. 2 second timing on the long stroke. 1 second timing on the short stroke. Now we're going to come to a letter here and a sakin letter here. Okay. So I want you to just look at those letters here. This sakin lam has to join to the most recent mutaharik letter. So let's work backwards. The next letter is this alif. Is that the letter that this lam will join to?
No,
No, because?
because it has no stroke.
Well done. So let's move back to this letter here. Will this lam join to this letter here?
Yes,
Because?
it has a fatha.
Well done. And what do we do with the alif?
We ignore it.
Well done. So we're just going to do joining of this and this, okay? Right. 1 second timing here, 2 second timing here. Here, okay, we are going to join this to this, and we'll explain why soon enough, okay? And then we're going to pause at the end here, so we won't necessarily read as we see. So repeat with me. وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا.
وآثر الحياة الدنيا.
Well done. This letter is a fatha, so we say tad.
Dad.
Well done. وآثر الحياة الدنيا.
وآثر الحياة الدنيا.
Well done. Okay. So this is a ha. Okay. So when you say it, try and smile. Okay. Ha.
Ha.
Well done. Okay then. So sweetheart, let me just move this out of the way. Read the next verse here. 1 second timing. 1 second timing. Okay. We are going to okay, so we are going to come to these rules soon enough, okay? But we are going to do 2 seconds on this noon here. Okay. This lam with a sukoon has to join to the most recent vowel letter. Let's work backwards. Will it be this alif?
No.
Will it be this noon?
Yes.
Because?
It has a fatha.
Well done. Okay. So we're going to join this and this. We're going to do 1 second timing here. This is a ya mad. Why? Because it's ya with a sukoon and just before it is a kasra. So that will be 2 seconds. Okay. 1 second timing. 1 second timing. Let's look at this lam sakin. It has to join to the most recent mutaharik letter. Will it be this alif?
No.
Will it be this ya?
Yes.
Well done, because we join mutaharik letters to sakin letters. What do we do with this alif?
No.
We ignore it. Well done. Okay. Okay. So when I read this now, okay, again, we'll come to this soon, okay, but we're going to read this as a slightly jerked sound, okay? This alif does have a fatha beforehand, but it also carries a sukoon, so it's not a blank alif. That's why this is not an alif mad. Okay, this is an alif with a sukoon. This is a sakin alif, if you like. Okay, and when we make a sound, it's a slightly jerked sound, and I'll read that to you soon enough. We're going to pause, and so we won't necessarily read the end as it's written. Okay, so let me just now take those away, and we're going to start reading from here. فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى
وَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
MashaAllah, well done. When you read this, okay, smile. Say, where. Well done. Okay, sweetheart. So if you can now repeat the verses by yourself from here to here.
فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Okay. Jazakumullah for your time. And when the teachers do say, try and smile as you say particular letters, like for example, I highlighted this one for you, okay? It's because some letters are thin letters, and when you read them, you have to make a thin sound. So when a teacher says to you, smile when you read this letter, try and follow that, because that will improve your reading. And inshallah, we'll come to thin and thick letters soon enough. But for now, Allah Hafiz, darling.
Hafiz.
Okay, so if I can have another student to the mic, please.
Yes, we're going to have next G2153.
G2153. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you, darling?
I'm okay. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, very, very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, right then. So let's now start from here, okay? We're going to 1 second timing, okay? This is an alif mad because there's a fatha just beforehand, so we're going to do 2 second timing there. There is a noon sakin. We have to look at the next letter because the next letter will decide the sort of nasal sound we'll make on this noon. Tell me, the next letter, is it a letter of the throat?
Yes.
It is. So when we read, you know the nasal sound because we've taught this. This will be done as man. Okay? Alif mad, therefore 2 second timing. 1 second timing, 1 second timing. This is an alif mad, so 2 second timing. Okay. Okay, so we can read all the way to the end of the verse, but if we wanted to, we could pause here if we ran out of breath. And if we did that, then I will read that slightly differently. Okay, let's move on. We are going to join this with this, and we'll explain that soon enough as to why. Let's move on to here. This lam sakin. Will it join to this alif?
No.
No, because?
The alif is not mutaharrik.
Well done. Will it join with this noon?
Yes.
Because?
It is a mutaharrik.
Well done. Well done. Good stuff. So the noon and the lam will join. Okay, let me just get rid of those. Okay, and we are going to pause here, so we won't necessarily read exactly as it's written here, and we'll cover the waqf rule soon enough. So, okay, sweetheart, so let's see if we can try and do it in 2 bits, and then we can see if we can try and do it all in one breath, okay? وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. Okay, you do Tawud the Tasmiyah properly and slowly with melody. Out loud, darling, yeah?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأما من خاف مقام ربه
Okay, well done. Okay, that's fine. Okay, a couple of things. When you see this letter here, try and round your mouth, okay? Ho, it comes from the very back of your mouth at the top of your throat. And if you round it, your mouth, ho. Say that for me, ho.
Ho.
Well done. And then when we read it, we do it for 2 seconds. Ho.
Ho.
Well done. And above the fa is a fatha, which is 1 second timing only, okay? Okay. Right then. And I chose to pause here, which is why I said bih, because when I pause, I have to apply the right rule. It does say vertical kasra, but if you pause, we have to apply the rule of pausing. Okay, so let's just move on. Wanahannaf.
Wanahannaf.
Well done. Wanahannafsa anil hawa.
Wanahannafsa anil hawa.
Well done. Okay, so if we try and do the whole verse, let's see if you can do it, okay? Because some of you may be able to manage it. So deep breath, okay? وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى.
وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى.
Mashallah, mashallah, very nice. Okay, so let's move on. 1 second timing. Here is a lam sakin. Tell me, will it join with this alif?
No,
Because?
it's not a mutaharik.
Well done. Will it join with this noon?
Yes,
Because?
it's a noon maftu.
Mashallah, very, very nice. You know the terms. A maftu letter is one that carries a fatha or a vertical fatha. And that's an Arabic term. So well done for knowing that, okay? But a sakin letter must join with a mutaharik letter, and this noon is the mutaharik letter that's most recent to the Islam sakin. Therefore, we join. What do we do with the alif?
We don't pronounce it.
We don't. We ignore it. Okay, well done. Okay, so okay, here, this lam sakin, will it join with this alif?
No.
No. Will it join with this ya?
Yes.
It will, yes, because it's the most recent mutaharik letter. Well done. Okay, here we have another example of what we call a hamza sakin, okay, or an alif sakin if you like, okay, and we're going to do a jerked sound. This is not an alif mad because it's not a blank alif. It has a sukoon on the top, and we're going to pause here so we won't necessarily read as it's written. So repeat with me, darling, okay? فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
Mashallah, very, very nice. Really nice reading. Very, very nice pronunciation. Okay. Jazakumullah for your time. Allah Hafiz for now. Allah Hafiz. Okay. So we are just now going to take a pause from that, and we're going to go to our letters. Okay. And today we have 2 letters. The first letter is a to. Looks like this. Okay. When we pronounce it properly, as it's meant to be read, okay, it's done for 5 seconds. So this is how it will sound. Do, do. In everyday speak, when we're teaching, we'll often say do, because that's how you do it in everyday spoken language. But the correct way of reading this letter is for 5 seconds. Okay, and as you can see, this is what the letter looks like on its own. When it's joining at the beginning of a word, it basically looks exactly the same. It's just this little tail bit that's missing. When it's in the middle of a word, it can join to a letter beforehand, it can join to a letter afterwards, and essentially looks exactly like it does when it's on its own. And at the end, it doesn't really change shape at all. Okay, so it's fairly easy to recognize. A to for 5 seconds has no dots. It can join to the previous letter, it can join to the next letter. The way to pronounce it is you take the your tongue, not the tip, just slightly back, okay, and it touches the junction between your front upper teeth and the gums. So just in your mouth, you know where your upper teeth are, you know where the front are. Your tongue will touch the bit where the gums and the teeth touch. And then if you raise the tongue a little bit, then the sound will come through as a thick and heavy sound. This is one of the thick and heavy letters, and this is one of those letters that you don't smile when you read. Do. Okay, the other letter that we're going to cover is a qaf. Again, when you read it properly, it's read out for 5 seconds. In everyday speak, we will refer to it as a qaf, but properly it's pronounced for 5 seconds. Qaf. Notice there's a blob here, okay? Filled in blob. And that's quite important because when you come to the Quran Majid, sometimes you will confuse that letter with other letters. But remember, qaf has a filled in blob at the beginning. When it's joining to within a word, notice that the letter goes round and comes round, and there's a hole there, okay? And that is also a qaf, but it's one that's in the middle of a word. So you need to notice that there's a loop shape. Again, because it will help you understand not to confuse it with another letter. When it's at the end of a word, it basically looks just like it does at the beginning on its own. But because it joins, we loop around. A qaf has 2 dots which are above it. It can join to the previous letter, it can join to the next letter. And when you pronounce it, the way to make the correct sound is to take the very back of your tongue and get it to touch the roof of your mouth such that you sort of block the throat. And then that's where the sound comes out. Off. You round your mouth as well because it's a thick and heavy sound. When you read this letter, you don't smile, and that helps you make the thick and heavy sound. Okay, so let me just introduce you now. Having done that, we can now go back to our reading. So if I can have a student.
I'm going to invite G2164.
G2164, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, darling. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, sweetheart. So if you can, for me, recite Dawood and Tasmiyah with melody properly, please.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Well done. Okay, so we're going to start from here. Let's talk about this verse as we go along, okay? So here is a waw mad because this is a waw sakin and just before is a dhamma. We will do 2-second timing here. 1 second timing, 1 second timing, 1 second timing, okay? We are going to join this noon with this scene. We'll explain soon enough why that is. This is an alif mad because there's a fatha just beforehand. So we will do 2-second timing on that. Okay. This is an alif mad, but there's a fatha just beforehand, 2-second timing on that. Okay. And we are going to do 2-second timing on this. We will pause here. So we won't necessarily read exactly as it is here because rules of waqf apply. But we will teach those soon enough, inshallah. So, okay. So repeat with me, darling. Yas'alunaka.
Yas'alunaka.
Lis nafsa.
Nafsa.
Ah. Repeat with me, darling. I didn't quite hear you. Ah. Anissa.
Anissa.
Well done. From the beginning. Yas'alunaka anissa.
Yas'alunaka.
Okay. Ati. Okay, so you're breaking up and I can't hear you and no one else can hear you either. So if you can like stay near your computer, near the mic. Yeah? Hello? Okay. If you could take a note of that student's ID, and if I can have a different student to the mic, please.
Okay. I'm going to call G2170.
G2170. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm also very well. Jazakumullah for asking, darling. So, okay, sweetheart, let's now start with here. If you can do Dawood and Tasbih properly for me.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Well done. So repeat with me, darling. Yas'alunaka anis sa'ati.
يسألونك عن الساعة.
Well done. Well done. This is a fatha, 1 second only, okay? So make sure next time you do that for 1 second. Okay, so carrying on. Ayyana mursaha.
أيان مرساها.
Well done. So we will try and, okay, so first of all, I'm going to read this verse and we'll just pause here, okay? So that those who can't quite manage reading the entire verse in one breath, they can pause here, okay? Yas'alunaka anis sa'ah.
يسألونك عن الساعة.
Well done. And then we're going to start from here and carry on. Sa'ati ayyana mursaha.
سآتي أيان مرساها.
Well done. Okay, now let's do it all in one breath if you can. يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها.
يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها.
MashaAllah. Well done. Okay, next verse. Ya mad. Why? Because this is a ya sakin and there's a kasra beforehand. We are going to do 2 seconds of timing here. 1 second of timing here. Noon sakin. When you see a noon sakin, you have to make a nasal sound. The type of nasal sound depends on the next letter. Is the next letter a letter of the throat?
No.
No. Okay. So we haven't taught you the sound that we make as yet. So I will read it as when we come to it. Okay. Here we have a noon sakin. It will make a nasal sound. The type of nasal sound will depend on the next letter. Is the next letter a letter of the throat?
No.
No. Okay, well done. So we don't do a clear sound. We will make a different sound. Okay, right. 2 second timing and we'll pause here. Okay, so repeat with me, darling, okay? Fima anta min dhikraha.
فيما أنت من ذكراها.
MashaAllah, well done. Make sure we do 2 seconds here, okay? Fima. Well done. Fima anta min dhikraha.
في موطن
Fima, darling.
فيما
Fima.
فيما
Carry on.
في موم
Okay, no, that's okay. No worries. Let's do it together. Okay. فيما أنت من ذكرها.
في موم
Okay, stop there, darling. Yeah, there is a fee which you're doing properly. This is a mean and it carries a fatha on the top. How would we read this? When you have a mean fatha.
ما
Ma, well done. Okay, so we say fima,
فيما
well done. Then we join this and this, okay, and we read it like this. Oh,
أو
well done. So when we put these together, we say fi ma on, fi ma on ta music rahe.
فيما أنت من مكره من ذكرها
Well done, well done. Okay, inshallah, when you practice, you will get there. Okay, now we're learning, so it's just one of those things. Okay, so one more time, repeat with me, darling. From here, يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها.
يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها
فيما أنت من ذكرها.
فيما أنت من ذكرها
MashaAllah, very nice reading, very nice reading. Jazakumullah for your time, darling. Allah Hafiz for now. If I can have another student to the mic.
Next is going to be G2122.
G1, 2,
G2122.
G2122. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, darling?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, very well. Jazakumullah, darling. So if you can do Dawood and Tasmiyah with melody and slowly, properly, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
A'udhu, a'udhu.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
MashaAllah. Make sure you stay near to your mic, okay? Because you're coming through a little bit quiet. But okay, so 1 second timing here, 2 second timing here. Here is a noon sakin. As soon as you see a noon sakin, you'll know that you've got to make a nasal sound, and the nasal sound that you make depends on the next letter. So far, you only know the sound that you make for throat letters. So let me ask you, this next letter here, what is that letter with 2 dots on the top?
It's a ta.
Well done. And is that a throat letter?
No.
No. Okay. So here, the sound that we'll make is not mun. Okay. It'll be a slightly different sound, but I'll read it for you in a moment. 2 seconds, and then we're going to pause here. So we'll apply rules of waqf. So let's go back here. Ila rabbika muntahaha.
Ila.
Ila.
Ila rabbika muntaha.
Well done. Okay. So make sure when you do it, when you're practicing, okay, the m and the n join, but we make a slightly nasally sound. Okay. Mu. Well done. Okay. Let's move on to the next verse. Okay. So we will come to this soon enough, but when I read this alif here, okay, because of that symbol, we read it for 3 seconds, but we'll explain that in another lesson. Let's look at something that we'll be teaching you. Noon sakin. We know we've got to make a nasal sound, and that nasal sound depends on the next letter. Is the next letter one from the throat?
No.
No. Okay, well done. So the nasal sound is going to be not clear like we do when it's a letter of the throat. Here is another Nun Sakin. Straight away we know we've got to look at the next letter because the sound we make will depend on that. Is that a letter of the throat?
No.
No. Okay, well done. So the nasal sound we make there is going to be different to one where this was a letter of the throat. Okay, well done. Okay, so here, okay, we do have a Nun Sakin, but this is one of those rules that we'll cover soon enough. We are going to join here to here. This Nun is going to be, we will teach that in an upcoming lesson as to what we do. Okay, I'll make the sound appropriately for you. 2 seconds, and then we're going to pause here. Okay, so let's now read this. إنما أنت
إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها.
Mashallah, mashallah, very nice. You knew what you were doing there. Okay, so well done. For everybody else, I'll just repeat it. إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها. Well done, darling. Okay, so let's move on to the last verse. Okay, a kaf here with the fatha. 1 second, okay, and then we've got this alif, and that will join to this noon. Okay, okay. This is an alif mud, so we will do 2 seconds timing here. Okay, this is a waw mud because it has a madda, but we've also got this symbol at the top, and we'll explain soon enough, but I'm going to do 3 seconds worth of timing there. Okay, this is a blank alif, we ignore it, and as we introduced it earlier on this week, this is a lam alif. Okay, the lam is starting here and is curling round and finishing on the alif here. Okay, this little W sign and the fatha belong to the lam. Okay, so that means that this alif has a fatha just beforehand. It's a alif mad. So we're going to apply 2 second timing there. Okay, here we have a tanween. A tanween is one of those where you have a fathatain or a kasratain or a dhammatain. This is a tanween. As soon as we see a tanween, we have to look at the next letter because the next letter will decide what sound we're going to make. Is the next letter a letter of the throat?
No.
It's an alif. Think again.
Yes.
It is. Okay. So when we read this tanween, okay, we're going to read it as a clear noon sound. Done.
Done.
Well done. Okay. Okay. 2 second timing, and then we're going to pause here. Now, this is a long verse, okay? So I'm going to choose to pause here, okay? And then I'll restart here, okay? So that everybody can hopefully read with us properly, okay? So repeat with me, darling. كأنهم
كأنهم
يوم يروا
يوم ما يروا
نها
نهى
لم يلبثوا
لم
لم يلبثوا
لم يلبسوا.
Well done. Okay, and because I paused there, I applied a certain rule of pausing. Okay, and again, we'll explain that soon enough. So I'm now going to restart, and we're going to start from here. لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها.
لم يلبسوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها.
Mashallah, mashallah, well done. Okay, sweetheart. So if you can read by yourself from here and stop here for me, please.
अच्छा जी كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا
Well done. And then start from here and carry on to the end here.
لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها.
Mashallah, mashallah. Jazakumullah, darling. Very nice reading, okay? Very nice. Allah Hafiz for now. Okay, so we've now come to the end of that chapter. Okay, so what I'll do is I will just go back to, where did we start? 37. Oh, here we are. Okay, we started here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just recite this, the remaining of this chapter that we covered today, so that you have at least one full recitation of it, okay? And then we'll give the homework. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها فيما أنت من ذكراها إلى ربك منتهاها إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. Okay, so we've come to the end of our class, and I will quickly go through your homework. It is to practice the verses we did today, 38 to 47 of this chapter. Look out for the rule today, which was blank letters between mutaharik and sakin letters. Apply all the rules that you know, including all those that we haven't taught, but pay particular attention to the ones that we have revised. Use the PDF that we post to the parents group or your own Quran Majid. And the letters of the day were Qaf, 2 dots above it. It can join to the previous letter and the next letter. And we are giving you here how to pronounce it. Same with the Do, 5 seconds, no dots, joins to previous letter, joins to the next letter. And here is explained how it's pronounced. Okay, I just wanted to quickly explain that some of you are logging in from your browser, but the correct way of logging in is via the Zoom app. And once you've got the Zoom app, you want to make sure that you do click on the join meeting, which I know most of you are doing. But then the next step will be to make sure that here you type in the ID that you've been given, that you were assigned in your email. And the ID must be put in here. It starts with a G and it has 4 numbers. And that's really important from today, because actually only those correctly ID'd students are ever called to the mic, and only those correctly ID'd students are likely to get into a breakout room, which we're hoping to do from tomorrow. Okay, so it's really important that you follow these steps. If you're not sure of your student ID, just email us, okay, at ukquranclass@gmail.com. Include as much information as you can, and we'll get back to you. And also some of you will have, well, all of you will have noticed that you've been asked for your email address. And if you type in the email address that you registered on the course with, that's the one that will enable you to get into a breakout room. If you type in a different email address, you'll still get into the class, but you won't be assigned to a breakout room. So it's really important that you know the email address you registered with and your student ID. If you don't, email us and we'll get back to you. Okay, so now since we have overrun, I will read this dua by myself. If everybody can read by themselves with me. Allahumma arhamni bil-Qur'anil azim. Oh Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran, the great. Jazakumullah for your time. Inshallah, you've learned something today. And until tomorrow, when we meet again, inshallah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.